Let's talk about one of the games yesterday that realistically was one of the games of the day going into it and turned into so despite a team going up big early. We end up with two preseason favourites, the Ravens going to 2-2, the Bills now to 3-1 after the late victory, and some curious decisions on behalf of John Harbaugh and the Ravens. I have to say, on the challenge he had earlier where it looked like Lamar Jackson reached out and got the first down, I cannot see why that wasn't overturned. There was not an angle that I saw where I didn't think that he got the first down. So that felt a little harsh, but that drive ended with no points at all. The thing that really throws me, it's two-tier. It's the decision to not kick the field goal and go for it on fourth down, which is a classic decision where if they score the touchdown, everyone goes, oh, what a genius. Oh, being really aggressive. Really love that. From a team who hadn't scored any points in the second half, it struck me as bizarre. And a team whose defense overall had played pretty well, even though they'd given up that lead. And then late on, they tried to let the Bills score the touchdown. Now, actually, I'm trying to remember who it was in on the tackle, but he said we were told either let them score or strip the ball. And in his attempt to strip the ball, he actually managed to make a tackle almost by accident. And you could see the other players around him giving him some stick. I think it was a Dafe away, possibly, giving him some kind of stick around him for doing so. But I don't hate the let them score thing. I know Matt Sherry, who kind of Gridiron creator, is big on the let them score thing and try and go out and put the ball in the hands of your best player. But again, you've not scored in the second half at all. Your defense has been your best unit. Stopping them getting a field goal and trying to score the other way is probably the better way to go. Just the whole thing for a coach as experienced as Harbaugh, and Marcus Peters had a real go at him on the sideline well, which Peters is a player who has been known to be hot-headed, as we know, but even so, that's not something you see from the Ravens organization very much, is that kind of infighting and that kind of, behind-the-scenes stuff showing out publicly. It felt uncharacteristically poor from a coaching perspective from one of the best in the NFL.
Yeah, I just didn't understand the decision. And it was clear that he doesn't trust his defense. That's why you keep the offense on the field to try and score. But I didn't even understand the play call from Greg Roman. It just made no sense to me. It's just like, why? You've got the most agile, athletic, run-first quarterback in the league, right? An MVP candidate. At least get him in a situation where he's got the opportunity to run instead of a pure sort of 5-step drop. I mean, I know he has Mike Davis open early, but that window closes quite quickly. And then Duvernay comes uncovered in the corner, but you kind of have to feather it in, a la, Ben Roethlisberger to Santonio Holmes in the corner of the end zone at the Super Bowl to try and get that in there. I just don't understand why you wouldn't put Jackson in a situation where he's got the opportunity to use his legs to pick up the touchdown. That just defied belief. But ultimately, just kick the field goal, send it to overtime. You got the best field goal kicker in the game, but it's clear he didn't trust his defense. I thought it was fascinating, watching Marcus Peters, who didn't just say it once. I mean, he was really going at him. And then for Harbaugh to say in the locker room afterwards that he said, I understand we're on the same page. I'm a Marcus Peters guy. I hope he still loves me. We have an honest relationship. I really love him, but I hope he still loves me. And he just that's a coach that knows that he screwed up. And I just think the Ravens, having, blown the game against the Dolphins a couple of weeks ago, now do it again against the Bills. I mean, they were up big.
They could be 4-0 right now. Could easily be 4-0 right now.
I don't think the Bills have ever won. I think I read earlier the Bills have never won a game when they've been behind by, or haven't won a game in a lot of years when they were behind by more than 17 points. And you just think, how did you manage to blow that at home? You had them exactly where you wanted them, right in your hand, and you managed to blow it. I didn't understand it.
There was two comments from Harbaugh afterwards that kind of struck me about everything that you've said there being completely true. As he said, well, one thing is the analytics say you should have gone for it there because what you do is you put the other team in a position where they have to drive 98 yards in theory to go and get a score. And they have and there's the issue that they have 4 downs to play with. Well, actually, on the 98 yards thing, because of the interception, it turns to a touchback and that becomes 80 yards. And those 18 yards are some of the hardest 18 yards on the field because you're in the same way it is in the red zone. Your playbook, when you're backed right up to your own goal line, has to completely change because you can't take the sack, you can't take the safety, etc. And then on top of that, because you haven't taken the field goal, it's not 4 downs for the whole distance of the field. It doesn't change their whole playbook. They have to just get it to the 30, the 40 even, as we saw yesterday at Wembley, in order to put themselves into field goal range. And then everything changes to, 3 and a stop, whatever it might be. It just, I don't know, his whole philosophy on it seemed bizarre to me. There's sometimes where you just go, take the point.
Especially at that point. The flip side to that argument about their defense, I don't think their defense is great, let's be honest. But also, they're up 20-3, right? They didn't score another point. Do you know what I mean? They didn't score another point in the second half. And that defense turned the ball over twice. It had 2 red zone stops. It allowed 23 points total to a top 5 offense in the league. I think Buffalo were 4 of 11 on third downs. They fairly limited big plays down the field, which has been a killer for teams playing Buffalo generally this season. I think the offense has to hold its hands up a little bit and take some of the blame and some of the responsibility, because it wasn't just on the defense that Baltimore didn't win that game.